Alright. Enough lollygagging on the starting soon screen. We are here and ready to go. How is everybody doing on this fine Saturday afternoon? My name is Alex, my @ is above, and I'm coming at you live from the beautiful city of Honolulu today, in the beautiful state of Hawaii. It is about 11 a.m. over here, almost 10:10 p.m. Central European Time, where this match is taking place all the way in Europe. And I will be your caster for today's match, and series of matches actually. So this is a new streaming format I'm trying out here, where we start by watching a match live. In today's case, it'll be Atlas Esports versus Deadly Warfare. And then after that, some team managers were nice enough to send me their old clan links from matches that happened earlier in the week that we can go back and cast as if it were live, but I'll just be showing you some replays. And so if you're keeping track of the challenge, you'll already know the outcomes of these matches, but at least you get to see them in action as well, and you get some idea of these teams' performance going into the playoffs, which is when things are really going to kick off here. So the match that we're about to watch is going to be Atlas versus Deadly Warfare, and both teams are in Group A. So there are 10 registered teams in the group stage, and so it's split into two groups of 5, and the top 2 from each group after a double round robin will advance into the playoffs, where they are going to play against the 4 golden ticket recipients, being No Mercy, Wii Sports, Stormbreaker TCF, and Undefined, which just recently merged with CMG, so it can be Undefined at CMG in their slot. So basically, first place from Group A plays against No Mercy, first place in Group B plays against Wii Sports, second place in Group A plays against TCF, and second place in Group B plays against Undefined in the playoff bracket. And then after that, it'll be a double elimination bracket all the way through, where we can crown the NSL Season 12 champion. So, once again, we're trying a fun new spin on our semi-pro league, making esports accessible since 2019. And I'm very excited to announce that the solo edition is in the works. I am now a Matcherino partner, so as the head admin of the league, that means I can actually start putting together solo events without charging a lot in entry fees. And if I can get the sponsored quest to work, it might even be free to enter. We'll see. It all depends, but we were about a minute away from our first game in the match, so we're gonna hold up just a little bit and wait for them to get into play. So both of these teams, both Deadly Warfare and Atlas Esports, have played in NSL in the past. So this should be a fun match no matter how you slice and dice it here. I guess this will give me some time to figure out my stuff. Okay, got that figured out. Good. Alright, my sources are now set up. My things are set up, and we should be good to go. Soundboard is at the ready. Alright, everything should be set. So now we're just going to wait a little longer for them to declare their lineups. So the match format in the group stage is going to be Format A, which will consist of a 2v2 best of 3, then a 4v4 TES Koth, King of the Hill, which is basically all 4 players from both sides fight against each other simultaneously, and then the remaining players will play a normal King of the Hill set. And then, after all that, if no clear winner emerges, then we will have a third set, which is the 1 vs 1 best of 3 CRL style duel for all the marbles. Lineups are starting to be declared. Alright. Both teams are at the ready. And we will switch over to the gameplay as soon as the first game starts. So in the meantime, we're just going to be waiting just a little bit longer here. The sad thing about me casting by myself is instead of having a nice conversation with a second caster, it's just going to be an awkward me sitting here yapping into the void and hoping chat responds, which more often than not it does not. So, oh, speak to the devil. Hello, chat. So, yeah, we get to sit here awkwardly until a game begins. Atlas is going to be playing Chosen Ping and Kudo, and they'll be banning Tornado. Deadly Warfare will be playing Sephrimano and Zaza, with a sub being Ares, and they're banning Goblin Giant. So we're not going to be seeing any Tornado, we're not going to be seeing any Goblin Giant. So going into that, that's going to be a little interesting. Because, I don't know. That means you're not going to be seeing any of those evil beatdown decks that nobody likes to play against. Lava Hound is in play, Giant Skeleton is in play, Firecracker is in play, the Double Bait is in play. All of those are very common in our 2v2 sets. No Tornado though, so defending is going to be a bigger challenge than it usually is. Alright, Kudo and Chosen Pig are in. Zaza's in. Okay, and again reiterating, Goblin Giant and Tornado are banned. Alright. And we are in a game. So on the bottom of your screen, it's going to be Kudo and Chosen Ping for Atlas Esports, and Zaza and Sephrimano for Deadly Warfare on the top of your screen. Alright, so we see an Executioner, Evo. That's very popular in 2v2, but no Tornado, so you're not going to get that synergy. So, I don't know how they're going to do that there. Skeletons, Inferno Dragon to counter the Baby Dragon. A little bit of emulator lag, unfortunately. That's going to be very common today, because the desktop emulator that I use to cast Clash Royale matches cannot handle 3D assets very well at all. So you're going to see a little bit of a choppy frame rate, and I apologize for that. You'd think the gaming computer could handle a couple of 3D models in a mobile game, but I guess not. So Evo Baby Dragon. So as a reminder, Evo Royal Hogs are globally banned throughout the entire league right now because they were just released, and the league has a rule that newly released cards and Evos are not playable within the first month of their release, to give people a chance to actually obtain it without spending obscene amounts of money. Just an accessibility thing that we do to help make semi-pro esports more affordable and accessible to the average player. That's our goal at NSL. Alright, Giant Skeleton push, as I predicted before, on the right-hand side. Ram Rider push, Fisherman trying to get a king activation, but their partner uses a Goblin Cage, kind of defeating a person. Actually, no, it's the same person. But the Fisherman pulls the danger closer. The bomb does connect onto the right-hand Princess Tower, but the King is activated. As Rich Slayton would say in CRL, King is active, but at what cost? In this case, the cost was 1000 HP. And Deadly Warfare is in a very good position going into double elixir time. But now we have the Executioner on hand. Royal Giant on the lane for the first time this game. Not evolved. They felt that the Goblin Cage and the Inferno Dragon were more important Evos than having the RG, which is a fair assessment. It's just a little different than what you'd expect. Alright, looks like Atlas is putting together a pretty big push on the right-hand side. Giant Skeleton, Baby Dragon. And Lightning not going to clip the Baby Dragon because the tower damage was more important. Fisherman going to do an excellent job of defending all of that. Bomb doesn't even connect. 2 Ram Riders, big counter push coming in. Evo Cage and Vines are going to take care of that pretty well. No damage from that push. And now both teams get a chance to reset and sort of bring it down a notch. And now we are in overtime, so next round will take it. And it looks like both teams are putting together a pretty big push here. I think we are setting up a big Golden Knight ability. The second Giant Skeleton blocks the Lightning from hitting that Evo Baby Dragon. RG connects on the right, though. Vines is down to stop it, but it gets another shot right as it dies. Evo Baby Dragon slowing down the giant skeleton so that it can't really do much. Bomb doesn't clip it. And it looks like Atlas successfully defended that push. But here we have another push coming down, requiring the Goblin Cage and the Vines. Offensive Poison trying to get a little bit of extra damage, but now Atlas is back in the lead. A complete reversal from single Elixir regulation time. So now if Atlas can keep up this momentum, they're going to be very good for this first point. But it's anyone's game at this time. And here comes another RG for Atlas, trying to keep up the momentum as best as possible. A Lightning has to come out. RG does not connect. The cage comes down in time. Lightning to take that out, but the RG does not connect. But the tower, the right-hand tower on Deadly Warfare side, is getting precariously low now. Deadly Warfare needs that giant skeleton to connect, but they just can't find a way through. Diddy Cage is going to do a good job of stopping that Fisherman from throwing off Atlas's push. I think that was a mistake, that Golden Knight ability. That was a waste of one Elixir, didn't really accomplish anything. And now there's two Rain Riders coming down the lane requiring a Vines to take care of. Vines on the tower, the activated King, though, from earlier that costed them 1,000 HP, saved their hind ends, though. Two Baby Dragons on the right-hand tower for Deadly Warfare out of nowhere. Takes the game with 34 HP remaining. And Deadly Warfare takes the first point in 2v2. What a very close game to start us off. Holy crap. But now, everyone can just take a breather. We're about to go into game 2. That was a very good game to kick off our season here at NSL Season 12. Holy crap. Chad is saying that was a crazy sell, and I am one to agree with that assessment. Oh my god. 34 HP, 2 more poison ticks, and that tower would have gone down. But unfortunately, I think a misplaced defensive troop allowed those two Baby Dragons to get on tower and just finish them off in seconds. But you think, what if that tower had 1,000 more HP? What if they didn't pull the giant... What if they activated the King Tower without having to detonate an entire giant skeleton bomb on their Princess Tower? If they had that 1,000 extra HP, I think that Atlas could have won that one. It was just a unfortunate mistake with the Fisherman, a mistake with the Golden Knight ability, tossing an extra elixir that could have been used to defend those Baby Dragons. I mean, don't get me wrong, Deadly Warfare also made a couple of mistakes with their placements and their micro. So, overall, I think it was just micro on micro conflict, and I think Deadly Warfare's micro was just a little bit better, giving them the win in this first game. So, there's about a minute left for Atlas to request the second game of 2v2 to perhaps even finish off the set for Deadly Warfare. Holy crapola. Why do I only get the good games? I'm so happy. So just a reminder to anyone who's watching, either live or in the VOD afterwards, if you are enjoying the gameplay and you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button. YouTube is one of the ways that NSL is trying to get themselves out there. The more exposure the league has, the better chance we have of getting sponsors and not having to charge an entry fee anymore. That's our ultimate goal. And also, if you want to do the sponsor quest in the Matcherino, that would greatly help us out as well. And it's free and takes 2 seconds. So that's all I have for my selling out speech, as players are starting to filter into the 2v2 game here. Atlas is attempting to request 2 minutes over, though. Oh gosh. Okay, come on, just use your common sense here. Get in the game. Try not to claim an excessive free win. A league admin is watching you. The rules literally say give a couple seconds of grace time, so don't be claiming a free win right now. Alright, in we go for Game 2 of King of the Hill. Not King of the Hill, 2v2. I'm not caffeinated enough today. Alright, so once again we have Kudo and Chosen Pig at the bottom of your screen for Atlas Esports and Zaza and Septimano for Deadly Warfare. And this is game 2 of the 2v2 set, best of 3, so set point for Deadly Warfare. We have some slightly different decks this time around. Golden Knight ability on the Executioner, just to prevent the Executioner from draining the Golden Knight's health too much. Oh my god, my emulator can't handle particle effects either. This is a nightmare. Alright. This time it looks like Atlas is running that Ram Rider deck that Deadly Warfare ran last game. Vines on defense. Okay, good Vines. Positive Elixir trade. And they really don't want to be taking damage this early in the game. That Goblin Brawlers need a little more attention to go down, and indeed here comes the Berserker to do just that. Baby Dragon take that out, and they do Elixir trade, but now we have 4 Elixir on the board, and an RG comes out, so essentially both teams just traded decks from game 1. Maybe Deadly Warfare's going, haha, you sold with your deck, we can do it better than you. What a flex that would be if they take this one away. Meanwhile, Atlas also doing the same thing, stealing their opponent's deck, but with a few tweaks here and there. I think there might just be a small deck pool in general for 2v2 at the semi-pro level. So, maybe it's just a coincidence, I don't know. Alright. A little bit more action here. That Baby Dragon will splash on the right-hand tower, giving Atlas the lead by default. Dark Prince also splashes a little bit on the left-hand tower, so now Atlas is ever so slightly ahead on damage. Fisherman trying to pull away that defensive Executioner, but unfortunately for Deadly Warfare, the Giant Skeleton follows him up. Royal Giant will connect. One shot on the tower. Not... actually, no, just enough to barely put them in the lead by maybe 10 health. Evo Cage and to take care of that counter push potential. Atlas is leaking a fair bit of Elixir, slightly more than Deadly Warfare. But it looks like both teams are handling their Elixir pretty well, so their macro is okay. And I mean, a macro in 2v2 is a little bit less important than it is in 1v1 though, so... Alright, that Evo Baby Dragon and Mini P.E.K.K.A combination is going to prove very threatening, requiring a lot of Elixir on Deadly Warfare's part to deal with it. Now Atlas is at an Elixir advantage. Let's see if they can cash in on that and get some damage on the tower, even more than they already do. Evo Baby Dragons on both sides of the field. A well-placed lightning by Atlas is going to allow that Ram Rider to connect to the tower, dealing about 1,000 damage, putting that left-hand tower down to 1611. Atlas is now pretty far ahead of the game here, with only 90 seconds remaining in the match, 30 seconds until triple Elixir time. So it looks like they might pull off the reversal and move on to game number 3 here in the 2v2 set, immediately making it very close compared to some of the other group stage matches I've seen earlier in the week. Alright, that Inferno Dragon is going to prove very challenging to deal with. It's going to take out the Exy. No, it won't. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Okay, wow. Will they, won't they, am I right? Here comes a second RG, requiring a Lightning to deal with. Vines coming out just in time to prevent any damage whatsoever. Baby Dragon gets on tower, requiring the Evo Inferno, which is a very threatening card indeed, especially on offense in 2v2, so unless Atlas deals with that properly, it's going to be very unfortunate for them. W-Cell once again. That Giant Skeleton might be close enough to take it away. 120 health remaining. Ultimate reversal from Deadly Warfare once again with the unfortunate Giant Skeleton bomb. Atlas was just slightly too slow to kill it due to the vines, and it looks like Deadly Warfare takes game 2 at the last minute once again. Whew-wee. Wow. That'll be a 2-0 victory in the 2v2 set for Deadly Warfare. Crazy. If I'm Atlas right now, I'd be fuming. absolutely fuming if I were Atlas right now. Another cell indeed, says the chat. I don't know. I think there were just, again, some micro mistakes on the part of Atlas that really cost them the game when it came to those giant skeleton bombs. Just getting a little too close for comfort there. Not as egregious as last game. They almost took it, versus last game it was... Oh, actually, no, last game was very close. But Atlas almost had it. They just had to survive another, like, what, 30 seconds or so? And there wasn't an egregious, like, fisherman pulling the danger closer moment. But it was just a series of micro mistakes. Their macro was a lot better than Deadly Warfare's. They were pretty ahead on Elixir. But I think overall, I don't know, chat, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that gameplay? Alright, so 3 minutes for the lineups in TES King of the Hill. So I guess we can talk for a little bit about matchup here. I don't have any telestration tools, but I can at least try and show off what I mean. Let's take a look at the ending of that game while we wait. I only want to spend about a minute on this so that we don't accidentally miss anything. So I'm just going to fast forward to the end of the game. Okay, coming in here. Okay, they're doing just fine here. And again, this is just a replay. Let's skip ahead another 10 seconds. So this really only... Deadly Warfare really took it in the last, like, 10-20 seconds of the match here. Let's analyze this a little more closely. We have the Evo Inferno Dragon getting insane value on all the defense because Atlas doesn't have their lightning out. No lightning available. Let's look at their hands here. Bring it to half speed. Actually, no, 1 speed is fine. Here comes a lightning. Gonna take that out, take that out. This is still full health, mind you. Alright, so all the defense comes out. And here comes a vine. This vine, mixed with the fact that nobody has any cards at the ready, means this giant skeleton is getting just close enough. This vines from Trudeau comes out just too late. And that bomb just takes it away. Let's hope I didn't miss anything here. Alright, so it looks like Deadly Warfare for the TES King of the Hill is going Drowwiser, Ares, Zaza, and Sephramano. Well, meanwhile, Atlas is going Trudeau, Alaric, Stefan, and Cito. So now everyone's going to request an order, and then they're going to play all 4 games simultaneously. And then the remaining players will play a King of the Hill set as normal. So it's going to be very difficult to cast 4 simultaneous games. So I think we're just going to poke in and out of each game as they go on. Just so that we can catch any good moments. And yeah, this is my first time doing a replay. I'm shocked at my ability to actually do the thing. Alright, so they're going to go in order. Alari and Ares are playing. So I guess let's just hop in their game here. And see what's going on here. And I guess for the sake of TES, I will be counting each win as a point. I'm not sure how to do TES on a scoreboard, so I'm just gonna figure it out as I go along today. Learn on the fly. So, yep, I'm watching Ares. So, looks like Alari is running some Sparky deck. Ares is running P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam, the traditional version with Evo Ram, which is not very common these days. But instead of running Evo P.E.K.K.A., they're running Evo Ghost, which is just barely permissible. Like, that season ended like 3 days ago, which is why it's allowed here. So, I want to quickly see if anyone else is playing right now. Yeah, they're all playing. Let's look at Zaza real quick, see how that's going. I'm just going to pop in and out of these games as we go, because the games that we're really going to pay attention to are happening after. So it looks like Zaza is running Logbait, with the Evo Ghost, and Stephen is running a probably Splash Yard thing? Either Splash Yard or Balloon. That'll be a matchup to look out for later. Meanwhile, Growwiser and Kudo. Growwiser for Deadly Warfare, Kudo for Atlas. Looks like Growwiser is running Mortar Bait with Boss Bandit. Kudo is running Drill. And now, yeah, that's the last one. Cedo and Sephiroth just started. Alright, Cedo's for Atlas, Sephiroth is for Deadly Warfare. So again, it's going to be Baby Dragon, probably Fireball Bait, versus Sephiroth's Minor Bait with Evo Ghost. So Evo Ghost is looking very popular in the 1v1 games. But let's go back to Ares, since that's what chat requested. Meanwhile, back at Ares, looks like this game is going swimmingly here, and this was the first game, so I guess we'll just watch it through to its conclusion. It'll be Sparky Giant versus Ares' P.E.K.K.A Bird Spam, just as a reminder. Those Zappies are not doing a darn thing against the Sparky. Here comes a Graveyard for Allari. Sparky does connect onto the tower. Zap is gonna... Oh my gosh, that was a well-placed tornado by Allari. Ares is not happy about that at all. And Allari wins for Deadly Warfare. Again, I'm not quite sure how quite to do the scoring here. So, Allari wins. It looks like Growwiser won. Kudo's angry. So that's 2 for Deadly Warfare right away. And it looks like this one just finished. It's going to be Zaza winning. So Atlas gets a point. And then Cedo versus Sephiroth is still ongoing with 90 seconds remaining. Golem Beatdown versus Mortar Bait is the matchup. Mortar Bait, pretty good against Golem. A lot of building options, Cannon Cart, Mortar, all good defensive options against a Golem. Yep, Lightning, just what I would have done. Goblin Gang gonna get taken care of by those Stelly Drags. Evo Ghost is gonna do a number on that tower. A lot of damage, and Cedo takes it. So I think it's going to be 2-2. I believe. Wait, no, Zaza was so it's going to be 3-1. It's 3-1 in TES. Let's see. 1, 3. So essentially, that means it's going to be... Cedo is going to have to do a reverse sweep. Pretty much. I'm confused. Why is Growwiser? Oh, the Growwiser win too? Oh yeah. Alright, now it's going to be Growwiser versus Allari here. In fact, just give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm just a little... Okay, yeah, no, it's 2-2. My bad. Your streamer is lacking. Your streamer got confused and your streamer is sorry. Here we go. Growwiser for Deadly Warfare on the bottom of your screen, Allari for Atlas on the top of your screen. I need a better system of keeping track of who's playing for who. Good lord. Next time I gotta remember bring a piece of paper with me to write down the lineups. Good God. Okay. On to the actual gameplay. Growwiser is running RG Cycle, it looks like, with the Evo Ghost. Allari also running Royal Ghost, but with Fireball bait. Slash beatdown. Probably beatdown. Just like they did in their first game. And here comes that Evo RG finally, for Growwiser. Those Zappies and the Mini P.E.K.K.A. are going to fully counter that RG. And it's not going to get a single shot on tower. E-Spirit necessary to take out the Mini P.E.K.K.A. There's going to be some chip damage. Ooh, and the Ghost Nets. That's huge for Allari in keeping Atlas on the board. And here comes the minions for Allari, also doing a little bit of chip. Now, just because Allari's ahead doesn't mean that he's out of the woods just yet. He still needs to be alert. Evo Ghost is going to allow that RG to connect pretty well for Growwiser, potentially putting him back in the lead, and it does, bringing that right-hand tower all the way down to 15-17. Alright. So far, Deadly Warfare has the lead in this 2v2 game. Good value for that E-Spirit. Golem will connect, at least Golemites will, dealing a bit of damage, especially since they recently got buffed. Well, not so recently now. Fisherman pulls that Mini P.E.K.K.A. into the kill zone, taking that out pretty quickly. And now we have a full health Fisherman threatening to chip down that tower. But he's going to convert it into a full-on RG push. Gets one shot on tower despite all of that elixir spent by Allari. Alright, RG, not RG, well, technically RG, but Royal Ghost, same acronym, connects on the left-hand side for Allari. Baby Dragon connects on the right. Lightning also to chip down the tower ever lower, putting Allari back in the lead, bringing the right-hand tower down to 971. It is still very much anyone's game at the moment, though, as any one mistake could send either player packing. 1 minute remaining in this game in 4v4 TES Chain of the Hill. TES phase is over, now it's just regular Chain of the Hill. Mini P.E.K.K.A. gets taken out by the Fisherman pretty easily. RG chips the left-hand tower for... Oh no! A mistake by Growwiser, missing the Fireball. Golem is going to fully connect on the left. Oh no! Fisherman trying to salvage that tower, but it's not working. Oh no! A horrible mistake by Growwiser with that Fisherman placement gives Allari the win. Oh, good grief. Wow. Okay. I have to show a replay of that afterwards. I have to show that again. Let's just skip ahead to the last 10 seconds of the game here. Okay, maybe... This is where it all went wrong. Okay, Mini P.E.K.K.A. dies. Okay. This Fisherman right here cost Growwiser the game. Just look what it does. Pulls the Golem in. Fireball doesn't even hit the Golem, or the minion, or the Zappy. And as a result, this Fisherman dies. And then from there, the rest is history. Oh, but just in time. Here is another game in this Chain of the Hill.
Let's make this quick.
Alright, this time it's going to be Zaza for Deadly Warfare on the bottom of your screen versus Allari for Atlas at the top. This is set point for Atlas, I believe. It's going to be Bowler, Evo Witch, probably Graveyard, versus looks like some sort of bait deck for Zaza. Zaza has to win this to keep his team alive, mind you. Golem is king, but that was a fisherman mistake of the century. Alright, here comes the Vines for that Graveyard. Gonna do a lot of work for Allari here. Allari absolutely decimating that tower, bringing it all the way down to 1336 in the middle of single Elixir. The only unfortunate thing is now he is very down on Elixir, and I think Zaza can, if he can counter that Bowler for a cheap cost, he can totally punish Allari for that early game push. Alright. Evo Ghost on the defense. Gonna deal some good damage to that Cannoneer tower. Punishment isn't as big as probably Zaza was hoping. And now we have a healthy Evo Witch coming down the lane. Now, remember, this deck got hella nerfed when Evo Witch lost the ability to heal from any skeleton. But that push was still very effective due to the tankiness of the Evo Witch alone, bringing the tower all the way down to 310. I do have to say, though, Zaza has a horrible matchup here. I mean, think about it. Bowler hard counters Ram Rider. Witch hard counters Boss Bandit for the most part. And Mini P.E.K.K.A hard counters Etsy, so this is a very difficult matchup for Zaza in the first place, and Allari's playing this really well this time. So, unfortunately for Zaza, looks like Atlas might take the match right here. This is match point for Atlas. No, it's not. Fuck. No, it's set point for Atlas. Atlas will take the set, pardon my inability to think coherently for 2 seconds. Alright. The desperation plays are coming up, but it's not enough, and Allari takes the set for Atlas Esports, keeping them alive, going into set number 3, 1v1 CRL duels. So now the overall score of the match is 1-1, where Atlas took 1, Deadly Warfare took 1. Now just updating the scores on my scoreboard. I'm still trying to relearn my frickin' dickin' doodly-doo setup. There we go. Alright, and so the final game will be CRL Duel. So, the rules for this set are simple. It's just like CRL, where it's going to be 1 versus 1, no card repeats between games, but there will be time in between games to make up a new deck on the fly, versus in-game duels where it's just 4 predetermined decks. That's not fun. There's no strategy involved in a in-game duel other than suffering and luck. But yeah, Allari with the 3-0 in the TES Chain of the Hill is absolutely crazy work. Good job to Allari, and a strong start to the season for Atlas Esports. And Allari really standing out in particular here, possibly as the match MVP. I wanna speculate here. So it looks like Deadly Warfare will be running Growwiser in this set, and Atlas once again will be running Allari. Is that allowed? Okay, yeah, that's fine. Cool. Yeah, this will be Alari's second set, so that's allowable. So it'll be Droweiser versus Alari. Okay, yeah. Okay, I was just about to have to, explain what a CRL duel is, but luckily the managers got it. Alright. So we are just about to get into the 1v1 best of 3 CRL duel to determine the winner of this match. A pretty crazy close game to start off the season. I'm very impressed. This season so far has been marked by a lot of 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. I think this is the first match in the entire season that went to set number 3, and I'm very excited that I get to cast it. Alright. The game is starting. Going to be Droweiser for Deadly Warfare on the bottom of your screen, and Alari for Atlas on the top of your screen. Alari is currently on a bit of a hot streak, just coming out of a 3-0 TES Chain to the Hill sweep, I want to say. Can he keep his winning streak alive going into the most important set of the day for him? Now, I gotta say, this is the group stage. The pressure's not very high, so there shouldn't be too many nerfs to worry about today. But it's still a first impression thing. You want to perform well. Especially since this match is being broadcasted to the public. So I hope I'm not adding too many unnecessary nerves here. But yeah, the reason why we stream matches is so that players have the opportunity to stand out on a public stage, so that maybe they might benefit in their semi-pro careers later on as a result of exposure over the interwebs. That's a good dream for that. Anyway, so back to the actual casting. Droweiser is certainly very far ahead, bringing the left-hand tower all the way down to 1070, mostly from chip damage alone, with the Executioner doing a lot of the work and the defense not being so strong. But it appears that Alari is running some sort of beatdown. Now, I see Battle Healer, I see E-Dragon, and I'm immediately going, oh no, is he seriously running E-Golem beatdown in a semi-pro league? Because if so, you can even sack an entire tower if you want, as long as you're able to just cash in one big push and double. Now, if he's running E-Golem, I would have liked to see a push happen in single Elixir, because now there's a lot more resources to defend, so maybe it's regular Golem. I'm just speculating here. That would explain the lightning. I see a me coming from the peanut gallery, as indeed it is a regular Golem beatdown deck, and not an E-Golem beatdown deck. And it looks like Alari will be strategically sacking a tower, aiming for a 3-crown instead, turning this match into a base race here. Executioner's going to do a pretty good job of losing the base race for Alari. Giant Skeleton Bomb on the King Tower. Is Alari's strategy going to pay off? One tower goes down, but Alari's King Tower is all the way down at 941. Alari does have pocket control now, so he could potentially send another Golem, sneaky Golem even. Once we hit sudden death, Strategic Tornado trying to get everything to back away from the King Tower. It's not working. A lot of stuff is now on Droweiser's King Tower. That Giant Skeleton won't make it in time. And Alari, 75 health. Droweiser needs to lightning block if he wants to have a chance. Droweiser needs to start lightning blocking however he can. Put down his Zappies. Put down his Zappies. Lightning block. Sits Elixir. Lightning block. No, Alari's not going to try and do a lightning. Instead, he's going to Golden Knight on the tower. Just in time for the lightning to come down. Just a half a second. What's the difference between winning and losing for Droweiser? And Droweiser comes out ahead by half a second, taking that game in this duel set. Oh my god, that was close. Holy crud. I can't even. Oh my god. So that ends Allari's win streak, unfortunately. And now Allari cannot use any of those beatdown cards anymore. And this will be match point for Deadly Warfare happening right now. This time, it looks like Droweiser is running a double barrel bait deck, I want to say. Evo Wizard comes out, so another beatdown type deck for Allari. Mortar bait, okay, mortar bait. I hate mortar bait a lot. Let's see how Allari deals with it. Okay, giant graveyard. A very early graveyard. I'm surprised. I would be surprised if that got the results that Allari was looking for. Yeah, a lot of options from Droweiser. Now Droweiser has a slight Elixir advantage that he will be cashing in on. Allari practically defenseless now, having to pull out the tornado that could have been used to activate a King Tower had he not gone for the graveyard first play. A very, I don't want to say rookie mistake, because these people are semi-pros, they've been playing for quite a while, but rushing graveyard first play is kind of a rookie move by Allari, which I'm a little surprised at given his performance in King of the Hill. Perhaps maybe Allari's feeling a little frustrated at the outcome of that last game, and maybe the emotions is causing him to play a little more aggressively than he is supposed to, I want to say. Just speculating here. Yeah, that Sparky's not going to do much of anything, really. And now there are 3 goblins that are going to do quite a bit of chip damage that, in order to avoid being in such an Elixir deficit, Allari's just going to have to take it. Another very aggressive graveyard play. I don't really want to see that, because I don't think that would be very successful. Doesn't get as much damage as Allari maybe was hoping for. And now that Mortar and that Berserker are going to take it out pretty good. But the good news is, it's double Elixir now. Aggressive graveyards are now a little more feasible. And I'm only giving this much insight to Graveyard because I mainly play Graveyard. That Boss Bandit getting illegal amounts of value. My god. Wizard does splash onto that E-Wizard. That zap was probably unnecessary. A slight error by Allari. Could have been used to support the Graveyard. Good tornado by Allari, though. Oh my gosh. A very good tornado, bringing the Boss Bandit closer to the Princess Tower such that the Wizard can splash onto it and ultimately take it down. So despite all of those technical errors earlier in the game, Allari does pull out the W, defeating Droweiser and bringing it to match point for both teams. This is going to be the closest possible score in a group stage match on Format A. So yeah, my favorite part about these group stage matches is that the games are pretty rapid fire. Back to back to back, not too much waiting. So I think that's a pretty good format of just these rapid fire matches. So now it all comes down to this game. The winner of this next game will be the winner of the entire match here. And while losing doesn't automatically disqualify you because this is a group stage and it's a double round robin, you really want to have the win there to put your team in a good momentum to take the top 2 spots of your group's leaderboard for the chance of advancing into playoffs and getting some prizes. Now when it comes to prizes, we're still evaluating the feasibility of doing golden tickets again because there were a lot. And as soon as I start rambling on, boom, another game immediately. This time it's going to be Allari for Atlas at the bottom of your screen, Droweiser for Deadly Warfare at the top of your screen. Last game of the match no matter what. So I just want to say after this game, stick around. We're going to be watching some matches from earlier in the week in replay format. So how we're going to do that is we're going to take about a 5 to 10 minute break on the stream so that your streamer can maybe get a glass of water, take a leak, and update the stream overlay. And then we will be watching some of these older matches as if we were casting them live. But all the replays will already be available. So instead of having to sit there awkwardly in between games, it'll just be back to back to back to back to back. Anyway. So that Valkyrie actually does get some chip damage on that right-hand tower for Drowwizer. And Allari running E-Giant is unfortunately getting slightly countered a little bit by that Goblin Hut. You know, it's a funny joke. It's the common joke of E-Giant gets countered by any building ever. But after all the nerfs, that's more true than ever. So Allari will have to play this one really well. Now, Allari already burned up Graveyard, so that Bowler and that Evo Witch isn't going to have its favorite synergy of Graveyard. It's going to have to be some other win condition. No, Drowwizer running Graveyard for the first time today. It looks like Drowwizer got some pretty bad RNG, unfortunately for him. And as a result, Allari defends that pretty perfectly. And cycles a Starmie in the opposite lane, knowing that Drowwizer doesn't have very many good counters. The Ice Wizard. Mini P.E.K.K.A connects on the right for Allari. That's huge for him in a game that will probably go to tiebreaker. Bringing the right-hand tower for Drowwizer all the way down to 1700, just about. Evo Valk Graveyard, huge. Evo Starmie to counter. That's going to take up 2 poison ticks to fully deal with, and just enough time. That Evo Starmie bought just enough time such that that Graveyard could be fully countered, only 1 RNG hit. And fully made up for by the fact that that E-Wizard on defense got a few chips as well. Bringing that right-hand tower for Drowwizer all the way down to 1251. Alright, here comes another E-Giant push. Drowwizer probably saving the hut for that. I'm hoping Allari has a spell somewhere in his deck to counter that hut. A big spell, preferably. Here comes a Vines, a strategic Vines, to mess up the placements in Allari's push, such that it can't be cohesive anymore. That Bowler does take out the Evo Witch. Okay. E-Wizard can help the Bowler pick up a strike on the other Evo Witch. Regular Valkyrie's going to take out both, though. Evo Witch connects on to the left-hand tower for Allari, dealing some split lane pressure. So now Allari can attack either lane and get good value. And now here comes a Snowball for Allari, trying to slow down that Evo Witch. And here comes the Vines, just in time. Mini P.E.K.K.A takes it out. And this is a big push coming in for Allari, requiring a lot of Elixir on Drowwizer's part to take it out, but the push does go away. Allari is still very much in the lead. There's only 1 minute left in the game. We're now on triple Elixir, so E-Giant is even more viable now, but so are its counters. And what I'm thinking here is Drowwizer is going to start cycling spells. Allari doesn't have very many big damage spells. So enough poison graveyards, and Allari might feel the pain. Here comes the Vines, that's going to deal a lot of graveyard damage. Not enough to immediately put Drowwizer in the lead. He realistically has only time for 1 more. Oh my god. And another graveyard. This is probably Drowwizer's last chance to take the lead here. 12 seconds remaining. The Vines do get a lot of value. Tower goes to 1256. That's not enough for Drowwizer. Vines just to pick up a little more damage. Bowler connects. Evo Valkyrie on defense, but that's not enough. 62 health is the final HP on Drowwizer's tower, as Allari takes the win for Atlas in this group stage match. So, that means that Atlas will take the win here for the first group stage match of our broadcast season here. What a crazy conclusion to this match. Holy cow. That was incredibly close overall. But don't go anywhere just yet. We still have maybe 1 or 2 matches to go today. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take about a 10-minute break here. I'm going to switch it back to the Starting Soon stream. And then your caster gets to rest his voice for a little while I update the overlay and get ready to cast the next match of today's broadcast. I've been given a couple of clan links from earlier in the week that I can review the replays in. So I'll probably do... I'm gonna look and see what I have. I'm probably gonna do some of Crispy Clean's matches since he sent me 2 clan links, so I'm probably gonna run through Crispy Clean's matches after the break. So don't go anywhere. We're nowhere near done with this stream. So stay tuned. Alright, and we are back with the second match of our series today. So, for those of you VOD watchers who just tuned in for the second match of our showcase, my name is Alex, my handle is at the top of your screen, and this match will be between Crispy Clean Esports and Xanimo Italy. So this is the first of our replay showcases. Unfortunately, the clan for Crispy Clean and Xanimo no longer exists, so I will be unable to dig up those replays, so now I know I gotta get in there a little bit faster and use my army of alt accounts to keep those clans in existence for as long as possible. So, unfortunately, we're not going to get the full scope of Week 1's matches, but you can still see the results in Challenge, and in fact, I will spoil it for you. Crispy Clean beat Enosis 2-0 in their first round match, and now this is the second round match against Xanimo Italy. So, both were European teams, and I think Crispy Clean played earlier in the day. Yeah. They played, actually no, 2 days ago they played. So that'll be fun. So here we are. Crispy Clean Esports versus Xanimo Italy. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about their rosters before we hop into any of their gameplay here. So, Xanimo Italy is led by Anto, Omalekin, and Hunters, and their in-clan captains are Aldo and Sahe. Their players are Fawn, Pepe, Momo, Yun, Fede, Hyrax, Mathis, Josu, Karim, Jeroz, Miguel, and Julian. Now, a few of them we've seen in previous editions of the league. Karim was an effective player in previous seasons, as was, I remember seeing a lot of Josu as well. Meanwhile, on Crispy Clean's side of things, they are led by CCE Cola, and their captains are Shefrick, BMW, and Shefrick again, but in a different account for some reason. That's weird, but okay. Their players are Shefrick, BMW, Lydia, Antique, Cola, Shefrick again. I guess there are two different accounts with the same name. That's weird. I'm gonna have to look into that. Marl Chen, Ardit Lim, Vicer Wolf, Omar, Carl Lagerfield, and Spargel. I think there was just a typo in their roster. I think that's what it is. But yeah, that's their rosters. Again, we've seen a lot of gameplay from people like Vicer Wolf in previous editions, and Shefrick as well. So I think this will be a pretty interesting match. I already know the result, but I'm not going to spoil it in this live stream. Instead, we're going to get right into the gameplay as if it was an actual match. So, as this was on ref, there's a lot more yapping. So, for the first set, the 2v2 set, the lineups were Xanimo Italy running Freddy and Karim, and Crispy Clean Esports running Vicer Wolf and Marlchen. And it looks like Heal Spirit was banned, and Aldo Leo did not ban a card, so no ban from Xanimo Italy. So without further ado, let's get into some of the gameplay now for the 2v2 set. Starting with Game 1. So it's going to be, and I'm just going to show decks now. It's going to be Vicer Wolf and Marlchen for Crispy Clean Esports on the bottom of your screen, Fede and Karim at the top of your screen. It looks like you don't get to see Xathalit's accounts in replay mode, unfortunately. So it appears that Xanimo Italy is running a Goblin Giant Skeleton deck. Meanwhile, Vicer Wolf and Marlchen for Crispy Clean is running a Lava Hound deck. The only card ban in this set was Heal Spirit, as a reminder. And then here comes a miner, gonna get picked up by the guards by at Sanamo, Italy. That Inferno Dragon is gonna fizzle out and die. And here comes a Mega Minion to take out the Baby Dragon and the Phoenix. Phoenix will get some death damage on the tower, unfortunately, for Crispy Clean. Not quite enough to put at Sanamo in the lead, though. And here comes a Valkyrie for Crispy Clean. Goblin Giant opposite lane for at Sanamo. Comes a Prince to counter that Valkyrie pretty easily. Some Skeleton Dragons didn't get taken out by a Fireball. And a Goblin Cage is going to take out all that beatdown stuff. But here comes an Evo Giant in the opposite lane, gonna do numbers on the tower if left ignored. Here comes an Evo Inferno, but there are so many resets on the side of Atanamo, Italy, that pushes gonna deal hella damage no matter what you do. Luckily, those guards and that Phoenix do ultimately take out the push, bringing that left-hand tower only down to 1938, meaning that Crispy Clean maintains their lead with the right-hand tower on Atanamo's side being at 1404. And now we are in double elixir time. Here comes another Evo push. Lightning is going to do a number on all those support troops. Now remember, Evo Goblin Giant got nerfed into smithereens, so the goblin spawns are not nearly as frequent. And then here comes some guards, going to take out that cage, force out the brawler. And now here comes an Evo Inferno. A very dangerous card in 2v2, especially. Requiring an entire defensive lightning to take out, and a zap. A slight mistake on the side of its Animo with a double spell. But that does a number on the tower regardless, bring it down to 796. And here comes another miner. Not going to get picked up. Actually, it does get picked up by the Prince. Never mind. And here comes an Evo Valkyrie. Again, Phoenix death damage, not going to do a whole lot. Arrows come out to avoid the revival of the Phoenix. And here comes a miner. Not going to get picked up by anything, going to deal a little bit of damage to the tower. Arrows on those guards, not going to take them out, but will strip them of their shield. Comes another very well-placed Goblin Cage by Crispy Clean Esports. Going to try to take out... Doesn't do too much against those two Goblin Giants. Both Goblin Giants are now on the left-hand tower against Crispy Clean. And it looks like its Animo does take game number 1 in the 2v2 set. With a very well-placed final double Goblin Giant push, and an unfortunate misplacement of that Goblin Cage, bringing both Giants into one lane, and ultimately resulting in the death of that Princess Tower. So, Atsanamo does take the first point in the 2v2 set. And now going into game number 2 for 2v2. Same layout as before. It's going to be Marlchen and Vicerwolf for Crispy Clean at the bottom of your screen. Karim and Feedy at the top of your screen. And here we go. Both teams opting to start off slowly. And once again, we see the home team stealing the away team's homework after game number 1 here, but with slight alterations. Showing just how limited the deck pool is in 2v2. Alright, Prince takes out Atanamo's Bomber. And here comes an E-Spear and a Lumberjack as a rudimentary push for Crispy Clean Esports on the right-hand side. Cannon lets Atsanamo win the bridge battle, and that Rage is just going to chip just a little bit on the tower. Goblin Drill offensively on the left. Looks like Atsanamo switching lanes once again. Goblin gets one stab, Snowball comes out, Goblin gets a second stab, bringing Crispy Clean's tower down to 25-48. And now here comes a giant Stelly push on the left-hand side for Crispy Clean. Big push coming in. Giant Skeleton does a great job of taking out the Goblin and preserving the Princess Dash. Defensive Vines doesn't deal with the Prince. Okay, wow. Since this is replays, I can go back. Okay, so Terror comes at Snowball. Ice Spirit comes down, trying to distract the Prince and freeze it for a little bit. But the Giant Skeleton Bomb pops just in time to take out the Ice Spirit, so a little bit of a mistime by Exanimo, allowing that Prince to charge towards that tower. Gets distracted by the second Ice Spirit by Exanimo. But the Prince still gets a few regular hits on the tower, and that's going to deal a load of damage for Crispy Clean. In fact, Exanimo's tower is now down to 968. And now we have Lumberjack on Night Action. Here comes a Rage. This will help take things out a little bit faster. Fisherman is going to pull the Lumberjack in, and the Rage is going to activate the chain, while dealing no damage to the Princess Tower whatsoever. A perfect Fisherman placement by Crispy Clean. Boom. Vines Rocket. A deadly combo. Alright, here comes an offensive Rage. Evo Ice Spirit's gonna slow everything down, but not stop it entirely. Take out the Giant Skeleton, you still have to worry about the Goblin Giant. Big offense coming in for Crispy Clean. Goblin Giant looks like it's going to not connect. As we go into overtime now. And Crispy Clean is very, very, very ahead on damage going into this double elixir overtime. And now there's an Evo Baby Dragon, probably going to see a big push come in, like a Prince maybe, once that wind is in. But instead it's going to be a Fireball and a Vines. And a Lightning to take everything out and give Crispy Clean the second point in the 2v2 set, forcing a third game. So overall, some very good gameplay by Crispy Clean showcased here in the second game of 2v2. Both players shaking off the nerves and giving a very crispy and clean performance. Pardon my pun. Alright. So now we're going to go into game number 3 here of the 2v2 best of 3. In just a second here. Once again, it's going to be Merlchin and Vicer Wolf for Crispy Clean at the bottom of your screen. Kiram and Feedy for Exanimo Italy at the top. Gonna show the card hands here, since this is a replay. This is all a replay of an earlier match in the week. A Rage on the tower, just to kick things off, cycle some cards. And it looks like, once again, we're going to be seeing some Lumberjack beatdown action going on for Crispy Clean. But it looks like Exanimo stole Crispy Clean's homework and is now posing a mirror matchup for the last game of the set. And here comes a Phoenix. Good defensive Fireball to take everything out, but we still have a very healthy Prince that's all raged, requiring that Vine to come out on defense to take everything out. No damage taken by either team except for that one little Rage. Very inconsequential. A perfectly placed Giant Skeleton, not going to splash on the tower at all, but will distract the Baby Dragon long enough to die. Here comes a Fisherman, going to pull the danger closer, but just out of range of the tower, it looks like. Vines is going to negate most of that defensive rage. Oh, hold on a second. That Fisherman was actually misplaced by one tile. If the Fisherman was placed here instead, Giant Skeleton would have been just far enough away from the tower to not kill it. but a slight misplacement, mixed with the fact that the giant skeleton killed it and walked over a tile. Just one tile was enough, so if the fisherman was placed one tile further, then the giant skeleton would have walked that one tile and still exploded away from the tower. So that was just off by one tile, but that made all the difference in the world. Either way, the Etanimo Tower is now very low, thanks to fisherman once again pulling the danger closer. You've seen that a lot today in the other match we just finished casting, where the fisherman pulls the danger closer and it results in a giant skeleton bomb right on the tower. Looks like Crispy Clean is leeching just a little bit, dropping their rages just a cycle. And now here comes a last-ditch push by Etanimo. It's now double elixir time. Defensive lightning by Crispy Clean gonna take out most of that push entirely. Fisherman placed in the center just to pull away that prince and a giant skeleton. Fisherman dies very quickly, however. And it looks like now Etanimo has turned this into a little bit of a base race. Well-placed fisherman by Crispy Clean forces the Goblin Giant to switch lanes. Goblin Giant does connect, however, to that other lane. It's very raged up, does a lot of damage to that left-hand tower. Defensive Vines on Etanimo's part also helps to stop that incoming push. Big play by Etanimo. A Nothing Burger Vines by Crispy Clean. A waste of 3 elixir. But here comes a lightning that was not blocked, and here comes a fireball to take out the tower and give Crispy Clean the set victory for the 2v2 set. So overall, you see a lot of errors on the fisherman today. Not just by Etanimo, but also by both teams in the first match we casted today, where the fisherman pulls the danger closer rather than pulling it into the kill zone. So it looks like as we approach playoffs, all teams should be on notice to clean up their fisherman placements ahead of the harder matches and the elimination pressure. So that's the 2v2 set. So now we're going to be moving on to the King of the Hill set, the TES King of the Hill. And for this set, it looks like they're going to be playing at a bit of a disadvantage here. I just want to verify something really quickly. Okay. So it looks like both teams opted to not play TES Koth properly. There were not these simultaneous matches ahead of time, but instead they just went straight into normal King of the Hill. Which, since this is the group stage and both teams consented, not good, but we will still accept the match result. Mainly because they started with an uneven number of players to begin with here. So, just as a spoiler, this set ended far faster than it should have. So, Crispy Clean ran Vicerwolf, Cola, Morton, and Black Pearl, while Etanimo Italy ran Karim, Fidi, and Turcudito. I want to say sorry if I butchered your username if you're watching. So, going into game 1, it's going to be Vicerwolf versus Karim. Now, once again, this was incorrectly played as a normal King of the Hill, but I guess we'll still accept the match result regardless. And in 1v1, we actually get to see the elixir bars, so it's going to be Vicerwolf on the bottom of the screen for Crispy Clean, Karim for Etanimo Italy on the top. Vicerwolf running, looks like lava something. And Karim running a more traditional Royal Hog stack. Now, just as a reminder, Evo Hogs are banned this season, and looks like Tyrim sits correctly, doesn't use Evo Hogs, but rather regular Hogs. Good. Ooh. Oh, Lava Clone. We never see this in Semi-Pro. Okay. And unfortunately, it looks like Tyrim only has ground counters and way overspent on the initial defense, so that Clone Lava Hound push takes down the tower very quickly within the first minute of the match. And Tyrim tries to punish with Hogs, but Vice-Wolf is already back at full elixir, unbeknownst to Tyrim, so definitely some macro errors on Tyrim's part with the elixir counting. So, unlike in the last match where the macro was good but the micro was off, this time the micro's good but the macro's off. So it looks like these players have to improve on their elixir counting abilities and maybe their card rotation math just a little bit. Alright, so now Vice-Wolf is defending against Royal Hogs with a Lumberjack and a Flying Machine. Archer Queen didn't defend, probably didn't know ability once that Hound pops. Instead, a Delivery comes out. Okay, saving that ability for when she crosses the bridge, even though the ability probably would have recharged by that point if she had used it earlier. Okay, now the ability finally comes out to take down that defensive Starmie, and she's going to get one shot on the Princess Tower. The Hogs on the right-hand side are a little more successful, bringing that tower down to 663. And now Tyrim has about 30 seconds to take down that tower, or it's wraps for this game of King of the Hill. And here comes down the Evo Starmie, a very good defensive card. And Tyrim sending out the good game with the big cloned push coming in. It's gonna be a 3-crown for Vice-Wolf here. Very rare in these matches do you see a 3-crown, but here it is, folks, a 3-crown for Crispy Clean Esports as they take the first point in King of the Hill. So now we're going to be hopping into Game 2, where it's going to be Vice-Wolf against Feedy. Here we go. So Vice-Wolf for Crispy Clean at the bottom of your screen, Feedy for Atanimo Italy on the top. Here we go. So looks like Vice-Wolf is now running traditional Hog 2.6, and meanwhile Feedy is running the very annoying Ram Rider Boss Bandit deck that we all hate. But we hate it because it's effective. So let's see if that holds true here. Here comes a Furnace. Nerfed so many times now, it's insane. To the point where it's barely viable unless it's evolved. And even then, that got nerfed too. Use a Fire Tracker, gonna easily counter that Furnace. But when I say it got nerfed into Oblivion, I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. We all remember how absolutely overpowered it was on its reworked day, so maybe it's a good thing that it's not as viable as it used to be. Either way, Hog connects on the right-hand tower, dealing massive damage. Boss Bandit does not adequately defend that, as the right-hand tower on Feedy's side goes down to 1275, and Vice-Wolf's towers are both mostly unharmed. Okay, Boss Bandit goes ability, gonna take out that cannon, and almost dashes onto the tower, but the Evo Vouch comes down just in time. And now here comes the Spirit Empress. Very rare that you see that in today's gameplay. But still effective, it has its role, and it does it well. Alright, Ram Rider does connect, and a well-placed Goblin Curse forces out the log. And now Feedy is in the lead, bringing Vice-Wolf's tower all the way down to 654. And here comes that furnace. Gonna run some fire spirits down the lane. Earthquake. Furnace ain't a building anymore, but get some damage regardless. Alright. Evo Firecracker comes out, and no arrows. Instead, Goblin Curse comes out, but it misses. A huge mistake by Feedy. Allows that Firecracker to not only survive, but also splash onto the tower a little bit, forcing out the Valk to take care of the Spirit Empress, but it's still not going to be good. Here comes the Nice Spirit to stop the Ram from taking out the cannon. Wow. This time the Goblin Curse does come out properly, and it does take out the Firecracker. Remember, Curse doesn't have damage amplification anymore. Alright, so it looks like Feedy is just spamming those Spirit Empresses. Because they are pretty effective, they do the job well. Skeletons and Valk is gonna have to defend that. So now Visor Wolf has about a minute 40 to break through. As it looks like Feedy does have a source of consistent pressure. But Visor Wolf has a source of consistent damage in the form of Earthquake, so in triple he can Earthquake cycle and get the job done just fine. Our Grounded Empress this time not going to be as effective on pressuring. And it looks like everybody's reset, though Feedy is ahead on Elixir at the moment and cashes out for a Ram Rider. A Loud comes out to slow down that Ram Rider. Here comes an Ice Spirit, but on the other side of the bridge. Luckily, Firecracker comes out just in time. Curse does not take out the Firecracker, and those skeletons were a mistake. Those skeletons were a mistake. They allowed the Firecracker to stay back, connect on the tower a couple of times. And watch, that Firecracker's still alive, hot connects. If Feedy didn't play those skeletons, that Firecracker would have died to the tower. And that match could have gone completely differently. But as it stands, Visor Wolf takes the win and the second point in King of the Hill. So now I'm just gonna update the scoreboard. So at this point, due to the uneven number of players, it is going to be match point for Crispy Clean. So now it is up to Marlchen to hold on. I'm lost. Help. Okay, I made it back. So now this third game is going to be Visor Wolf versus Turcudito, and as a reminder, this is match point for Crispy Clean due to the uneven number of players in this set. Because I guess Animo didn't have enough to have a full roster this time around. So let's get into this. Match point Crispy Clean. It's going to be Visor Wolf for Crispy Clean at the bottom of your screen versus Turcudito for Animo Italy on the top. Visor Wolf once again running Lava Clone this time around. And this time around, it looks like Turcudito is going to be running a hard counter to Lava Clone in the version of Etsinado. Royal Hodge Etsinado, to be exact. And here comes an E-Spirit, going to try and distract that Baby Dragon successfully. And here comes the NATO, going to help the Etsi take out all of those support troops, including the Flying Machine. So now that Lava Hound push is as good as dead. And there's a half-health Etsi on the board that Turcudito can use to support a counter push further down the line. And indeed he does. He successfully clocked that Visor Wolf probably doesn't have a defensive building in Lava Clone. So, also sorry I just hit the mic, that's gonna cause your eardrums to bleed. But yeah, Golden Knight to defend against the Lumberjack, very good. So far Turcudito is reading Visor Wolf like a book. Okay, Golden Knight ability hits the tower, brings it all the way down to 15-15, as Visor Wolf decides to switch lanes and take some of the attention off of that right-hand tower. Turcudito a little conflicted on what to play at the moment, hitting those cards back and forth. Settling on a Tesla, it looks like, gonna be very close to the tower, pulling that Lava Hound. Here comes that baby dragon. Vice Wolf taking care not to put it too close to the Lava Hound. But here comes an Evo Axie and the E-Spirit to stun that baby dragon just long enough to not get any value whatsoever. Baby dragon splashes on the tower once. And here comes Whirl Hodge down the right-hand lane trying to make something happen. Tornado to take out the bats. And that is a very successful push by Tortudito, bringing that tower all the way down to 378. Golden Knight comes out. Might ability, but instead opts for the E-Spirit Chain Lightning, and then goes ability. Vice Wolf has one ground trip to his name, and indeed he uses it. Oh, but good Tornado by Tortudito, activating the King Tower, but at the cost of the Etsy not being as effective on defense. And here comes a Fireball. So, the most effective lava push yet. Only slightly stunted by the Evo Tesla. Royal Hodge him down, Vice Wolf is wholly unprepared, and the tower goes down. Starmie at the bridge for goodness knows why for Vice Wolf, and Tortudito takes the game and keeps Ex Animo Italy alive as we go into game number 4 very soon. So that puts a point for Ex Animo on the board. But Ex Animo needs 3 more wins in order to Huh? I'm very confused. I am so incredibly confused. Okay, the only theory I have for why this clan chat is so confusing is maybe not all of the replays stuck around. Because it looks like what happened now is we're skipping straight to the 1v1 duel, which makes no sense. Because that King of the Hill game was ongoing. So I don't know if it's a glitch with clan chat or if the game was literally butchered this badly. But it looks like, based on context clues, Ex Animo took the the King of the Hill set somehow. And got the set win? A very confusing set because this clan chat is all out of order and not all the replays are there, it looks like. So either this match was played so egregiously incorrectly that it shouldn't be accepted, or all of the replays just aren't there. And I choose to believe the latter because I don't want to have to deal with that noise right now. So it looks like we're skipping into the 1v1 best of 3 duels, where okay. Alright, so it looks like this first game there was a bug. I'm gonna pre-watch this, hold on. No, this was a full game, okay. Okay, yeah, this was a full game. The bug must have been referring to a replay that's not there once again, because this makes no sense. So I guess we're in a 1v1 best of 3 now with Marl-Chen versus Turtudito. Turtudito for Tanimo, Marl-Chen for Crispy Clean. Let's watch. And yes, I do have some question marks on a Tanimo's Tana Hill score because, quite honestly, I don't know what happened to those replays. Or why we're even playing this third set to begin with. But here's the 1v1 duel. Marl-Chen is running Royal Hogs. Turtudito running Goblins and Goblin Drill type stuff. And we get to see some gameplay with the Goblin Demolisher here, very rarely seen in any competitive play whatsoever. Alright, and here comes Royal Hogs. 3-1 split. Goblin Demolisher gonna deal with the 3 pretty well. Only deals about 500 damage, putting Turtudito in a slight lead here. 25-34. Here comes a Drill. I almost wonder if the Goblin Demolisher is being used because of its play in CRL recently, where it was used in a deck very similar to this. Maybe it provided some inspiration to some folks. And here jumps a 3-1 Hog split. And, yeah, that Tesla's gonna do pretty well at taking out everything. Alright. Fire Spirit gets taken by those skeletons. Log to deal with the Drill. Goblin Demolisher does not have enough splash radius to splash onto that tower with that front planted Tesla. Knight's gonna take out the Etsy pretty well. Here comes an Evo Etsy. And here comes some Royal Hogs for Turtudito. Gonna be dealt with pretty well by the Evo Tesla. Evo Snowball gonna allow that drill to get a lot of damage on the left-hand tower. Bring it down to 1706 and putting Marl-Chen in a pretty commanding lead. And now we might see some tornado usage by Turtudito. No, we're not. Evo Tesla on defense. Snowball doesn't make too much of a difference. Here comes a full send Hogs. Once again, no counterplay for that Tesla whatsoever. So many times this Royal Hogs have been countered by Tesla. Doesn't look like Turtudito has any counterplay for that whatsoever. Golden Knight and Etsy push for Turtudito now. Evo Etsy gonna do an okay job against that Knight, bring it down to a quarter health. Not too impactful. And now here comes another Hogs. This time no Tesla, forcing out the Evo Snowball that would have been used on offense otherwise. 90 seconds remaining and all Marl-Chen has to do is maintain the lead. And here we go. Goblin Demolisher connects on the right-hand side. Completely ignored. Right-hand side's down to 1904. But the main focus is still on the left. And this is like the third or fourth time in a row that the drill is placed in front of the tower. Marl-Chen's starting to get a little predictable with their drill placements. Oh, I see what Tortudito was going for at the tornado, trying to make it so that the Golden Knight would hit the tower with the chain dash. But unfortunately, he gets distracted and goes off to the side. Alright, another very predictable drill placement by Marlchen. One Royal Hog does connect on the tower. 26 seconds remaining. All Marlchen has to do is defend at this point. Oh, the Etsy does splash onto the tower. Evo Snowball is once again forced out. Boom. Goblin Demolisher does its job, and it does it well. Poison trying to largen the damage gap just a little bit here. Snowball as well. At this point, it's Spell O'Clock. Last second Knight comes out. NATO doesn't quite do the job, and Marlchen takes the point. With the full 5 minutes being used. And it's starting to rain. Great. Alright. So that is going to be a point for Crispy Clean, it looks like. Yeah. With Marlchen taking that point. Alright. So the next one is going to be against Tortudito and Marlchen again. Tortudito for Etsanimo, Italy will be at the bottom of your screen, and Marlchen for Crispy Clean at the top. So now Etsanimo, Italy is going to be the true blue for this game. Yeah. Drop something. Alright, and we're seeing some mortar bait for Tortudito now. Gonna be stopped pretty well by that Berserker here. And now we have the Goblinstein. Okay, well-placed minions off to the side so that the Goblinstein ability does not get as much value if used, and it wasn't used at all, so good placement overall. And now here comes a barrel once again. Mortar didn't counter that, so some mortar versus mortar. And mortar to counter the mortar, shocking. And Tortudito very indecisive about which card to use. A cannon cart. All right. Alright, so looks like Goblinstein will not go ability due to a lack of elixir. Wanting to build some up instead. A Skeleton Chain ability gonna force out the Ice Wizard on the right, allowing the Skeleton Girl to fully connect on the left. Tortudito taking full advantage of his elixir situation. Well played on the macro side of things. Now here comes the Evo Dart. All right. And there goes... Oh, finally, a Goblinstein ability comes out for Marlchen. And did some pretty decent value. Mortar to stop the Skelly Barrel entirely. So, very good gameplay by Tortudito overall here. As now we go into double elixir time. in overtime. Now, finally, the Evo Mortar comes out for Marlchen here. Cannon Tart and minions are both gonna jointly counter. Arrows are gonna take out the minions. Cannon Tart does deal well with the Evo Mortar, though. Evo Barrel comes out for Marlchen here. Tortito needs to respond somehow. Arrows come out. Evo Barrel does get a bit of damage, though. Evo Mortar on defense. Goblin Shine ability. Gonna take out that mortar entirely. But not gonna do much else. And a Skeleton Chain comes out. I think the arrows were a little early on Marlchen's part. 1 minute remaining in overtime. Mortar has to come out from Marlchen. Just in a minute of time it does. Huge value on those arrows, though. Right, so all Tortolito has to do now, realistically, is defend for another 30 seconds, and he gets the point in the badge. And boom. With 10 seconds remaining, it's not looking like Marlchen is going to be able to break through any further. That barrel might be a little bit of an issue, but it doesn't reach in time. And it looks like Tortolito wins by 100 HP. Just barely scraping by. As Tortolito gets a point on the board for Ex Animo Italy. Now we're going to get ready to showcase the final game of the match. And now here comes the last game of the set. Just a moment from now. Oh, I think I know what happened. I know what happened in the King of the Hill set. It looked like Ex Animo only had 2 players, not the 3 that I was expecting. Okay. So that begs the question, why are they even playing a 3rd set at all? Whatever. Last game. Here we go. So I think I know what happened with the King of the Hill. It looks like they incorrectly think that they need to play all 3 sets when in fact they don't. So while that's going, I'm going to fix the scoreboard here. Because it shouldn't be them, it should be... them didn't win. Alright, that's fixed now. Okay. So as it turns out, this is an exhibition set all along. Okay, I figured it out. I figured out why the scoreboards are so weird. Gotcha. Alright. Glad we got that sorted. Okay. So, it's going to be Tortudito for its Anemo on the bottom of your stream, Marlchen at the top once again. 2 minutes left in regulation time. Mighty Miner. He's gonna do a good job there. Hunter gonna take that out pretty quickly. And now Cannon on defense probably. Yeah, there we go. RG is going to be hurtling down the lane for Marlchen. Evo Wizard comes out. And it looks like that RG will not get a single hit on that tower. Okay. Hog Rider on the left-hand side. Some dual lane pressure. Fisherman gonna get the chain activation for Marlchen. Oh no! It hooks on the wrong side, and the chain does not activate at all. And then that Evo Ghost does get some good value on the tower, but not very much damage at all. So, slight issue with the Fisherman against that dual lane push. But the RG comes out regardless. Evo Hunter nerf does not allow that push to get through very much at all. But the Mighty Miner does go down. Wizard down. Here comes another RG in the back. Looks like they don't have the Evo for that. The struggles of a free-to-play player. Hog Rider connects on the left, but this time Marlchen does get the chain activation. But that tower's only on half health. Alright, but it looks like Tortudito is starting to cook up some counter pressure. Okay, Mighty Miner switches lanes. Is going to take up the Fisherman's attention, allowing the Hog to connect one more time. The second Mighty Miner also takes the Fisherman's attention. Lightning comes down. Evo Wizard connects on the right. A lot is happening. We have a last-ditch effort by Marlchen to get something to happen here. With the RG. Guards do a good job of distracting the Fisherman. RG does not connect. So all it's going to take is one more Hog Lightning push to put this game away for Tortudito. And give Ex Anemo the third set, which I'm not sure why they're playing it. Alright, and here comes... Oh, Hog on the right. Okay. Get the switch up, but I guess that's a good play for the Mighty Miner to take away the Fisherman's attention, and indeed it does. Guards are not enough, and Tortudito takes game number 3. So... overall, a fantastic match between Crispy Clean Esports and Ex Anemo Italy. It appears from what I can piece together in clan chat, it looks like Crispy Clean does take the match with 2 sets. And they just played the third set for fun, I guess. But Ex Anemo did take that one. So, okay, I guess. So that was 2 matches today. Let's see if I received any more. I did receive a clan link from someone else. Alright, so I have 2 more clan links in the archive. But I think we're going to save those for tomorrow. As those are both 2 zeros and they should go pretty quick. So, that'll be all for today's stream, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in to that live gameplay as well as that replay after the fact. It really was a lot of fun to get to see the first impressions throughout the season, and I'm very excited to see where we go from here. We'll be live again tomorrow at, let me check the time real quick, our scheduled matches channel. Okay, yeah, so we'll be up again tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central European Time, also known as 9 a.m. Hawaii time, or whenever the heck it is mainland time. You can Google it yourself, my dear viewers. So, all that being said, thank you so much for tuning into the stream today, and we'll see you again tomorrow. So, that'll be all from me. Peace out. Just putting together some stream stuff real quick. Okay, now see you tomorrow for real.